Alrighty, here we go. Episode 23.
23 and me.
I can't afford that. This episode of Huell's Gold is dedicated to the memory of Michael Jordan's career as number 23.
RIP. We
will, again, honor him at episode 45. But where are we this week?
We are, as Huell says, up the 395.
Yeah.
Not the 95. The 395.
Yeah, we're in Mono County.
Do you know what? I'm going to go back on that because Huell says we are up 395. He doesn't use the in front of it.
Because he's not from Los Angeles. Have we talked about this on the show before?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. This
is another
number,
instance, though.
Yeah. I guess it's got to be ingrained in you from the get-go, like as a child.
Yeah.
I doubt they're saying that in Tennessee.
That's
obviously
true.
So. Here's our first-hand account. Huell doesn't say the.
Well, there it
but
is.
I think he does later episodes. We'll
keep
cross
track of
that bridge when we get there.
Keep it mental.
Yeah. Anyway, we're in Bodie, ghost town, and Huell he's digging up some ghosts for sure.
Yeah, Bodie has the ghostest with the mostest.
I don't know what that means, but he seems to have a good time in this rundown old gold rush ghost town.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he doesn't start off in Bodie yet. He kind of starts off on the side of the road almost as if the Explorer broke down. But since he's only been driving it for 1 year, we know that thing's purring like a puppy.
That's very true.
Purring like a puppy, I said.
That works.
Either way, that's our cold open. Oh, well, yeah, Alan just pointed out the Explorer has a dent.
Has a nice dinger on it.
That's on Louis' side, though, because Huell always drove. So he probably set the camera down.
Louis?
That camera's expensive. But anyway, let's get to the clip. Huell's going to explain where, why, who, and how. And wow. Hit it, Huell.
You know, the Eastern Sierra is literally one of the most spectacular scenic areas in California. And this drive up 395 is something. One breathtaking sight after another. And right after you go north through the little town of Lee Vining in Mono County, there's Mono Lake off to the right, one of our state's true treasures. But we were heading even further north, and before we got to the turnoff, the unpredictable climate of the Sierra had brought us a steady downpour out of nowhere. Our destination was 15 miles off the main highway, down a windy road that before long became a bumpy dirt road. We were heading for Bodie, an honest-to-goodness ghost town nestled in the Bodie Hills, over 8,000 feet above sea level. Now, back in the 1880s, this town was bustling. Over 12,000 people came here in search of gold, and they found it too, and lots of it. But as with so many gold rush towns, after the boom came the bust, and the town gradually lost population until the very last hardy souls moved away in the 1940s. In 1962, the state of California acquired the land and the buildings, which became Bodie State Historic Park. Nowadays, when you visit Bodie, it's literally like stepping back in time to the gold rush days. A whole town frozen in time. I'd arranged to meet up with a couple of the park rangers and with Arlene and Ranger, the Mono County librarian, who knows everything there is to know about this fascinating place called Bodie.
Alrighty, here we are in good old Bodie. And it was quite a little trek to get up there because I'm assuming Huell drove all the way up there in the Explorer. I mean, they show this roadside, cold open.
No flying today.
No. And it's quite an interesting little montage of the road trip because I was talking to my mom earlier today, and she's been here. She's been to Bodie, and she was excited about us doing this episode. And she's like, oh, well, I remember the road being really bad getting there.
Why didn't you have her on?
She told me like 45 minutes before I left. She wouldn't have come on. She doesn't even listen.
Call her right now. We can't forget.
I'm not forgetting.
Okay, I'll let you do it then.
So Bodie, the roads, terrible as of 1995, she assumed, which that would mean that I would have gone too. No memory of this at all.
92?
No, 95.
95.
This is
95.
This episode is 1992.
Okay.
But I have no memory of this.
You don't remember any of the Arrested
Decay?
development?
No, none of that.
Decay.
But in between the different road montage parts is our theme today. And it's a doozy. Now, okay, so let me ask you. When I saw this is one of these things that might not translate as well through our show. Because I think visually, this is one of the coolest looking situations.
Yeah.
It like epitomizes California so much. With the forest ranger playing the harp in the brush right in front of Mono Lake. Like, it couldn't get any better.
That wasn't my first thought.
No?
My first thought was, I was thinking back to the Devil's Jaw episode when the forest ranger played the Spanish song and sang in Spanish.
Oh, yeah. At the La Purisma mission? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was, what kind of, is this like a job qualification?
I haven't had a lot of run-ins with these forest rangers, but they seem to be a multifaceted type of person.
I'm wondering if they're still that way. Maybe you can go up and throw a harmonica to the next park ranger and say, go ahead.
Honk on Bobo? Yeah. Do you think maybe there is some sort of like entertainment aspect to their job that they have to be? Let's look it up. Let's just look it up real quick.
Okay.
This is amazing.
All right.
That's pretty clinical.
Yeah. Seems like they make it sound like a really important job. But focus on law enforcement more than I thought. But I
Right.
guess that makes sense. Like people bring in fire and guns and
Did it say
food.
something about the people's elbow?
What? I don't know about that.
Well, I
There-
don't know. I
there
thought I
are-
saw it under.
I think you saw rock climbing, and you just let your mind flow from
Maybe. Well, unfortunately, we don't get this ranger's name.
there. I know. That's a shame because they obviously went to some like great lengths to set this shot up. She had to bring out her big harp, scuff it all up.
Popped her on a rock. Yeah. Not a comfy chair.
No. But it is a pretty like simplistic single line melody version because harps are one of those instruments that you can like play two melodies at once, but she probably just did get, hey, Melanie, you know how to play the harp. Plop this song out real quick.
Okay. Listens to it once.
Yeah. But
I like Melanie. That's a good name.
it seems right.
She looks like a Melanie. Yeah, I can see that.
This would be one of those situations where I'd want to find her and really find out anything and get her story.
Yeah.
Because these musician stories are what I'm craving the most. But these people are hard to find. Or at least hard to find this era, this second season, 1992 era. It's too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I've talked to seems to have fond memories of the situation, but nothing.
So, as everyone probably heard in the narrative Huell gives, did you notice that he said that he passes Lee Vining?
Yeah.
We will see it later in episode 11, 002, Places I've Wanted to Go.
Those episode numbers are going to be so hard to keep track of. Because
was
this goes
thinking-
to hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. It's so weird.
But he goes there. Obviously, you see the upside down house.
Yeah.
Maybe this triggered the.
It's had to be. Because he doesn't really talk about having gone here a lot and seen much. He must have heard things along the way. Because, spoiler alert, we're going to be at Mono Lake next week. So he obviously stayed up here for a little while. But
There was something interesting as well when he talks about how it was a boom town, called, right, with gold. There's only one industry, gold or just mining. And I was thinking, you and I have talked about this. There's certain cities that we've seen where there's towns that were railroad towns that were established as railheads for whatever. Railroads established these towns, and they were really only railroad towns. And some of them took off, and some of them just died.
I think a lot of them did. At least the towns established by the railroad itself.
Which we have a town, Sumner, which was then Kern, and then it was incorporated into Bakersfield. But you can see it on a map. It looks...
It's all askew.
It's askew. But we also have Caliente.
Yep.
And it's... I'm not going to say it's thriving.
Not quite. No.
But it's there.
I don't... see, okay, so this is a pretty obvious ghost town situation where it's established by the state parks department that it's a ghost town, and this whole Arrested Decay thing that you mentioned we'll get to. But Caliente, there are still a few people that I think consider that their home town.
Right.
But when you drive through it, that feels more ghost towny than anything I've ever been in.
Well, supposedly there are ghosts at the old train station.
Says who?
We've been there.
Oh, it says you?
Says, well, I don't know if they're there. We didn't see anything. It's pretty dark.
Right.
I was more scared of people that were in the hills.
Oh yeah, hill folk scare me way more than ghosts do.
That's true.
In fact, okay, I got to tell a quick story. It's offshoot. I'll tell it as quick as I can. One of the scariest moments in my entire life. When I was younger, 10 years ago, I went to Coachella. And one of the last years I think I went 3 or 4 times back in the early 2000s.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. It didn't seem as cool back then. I mean, there were still a lot of people and stuff, but
Yeah.
anyway, I messed up the hotel situation. I booked it for the wrong weekend. So I had to quick get a secondary situation, and the closest thing was a town called Yucca Valley, which is on the other side of the mountain range and everything. And one of the nights, because, the festival would end midnight, 1-ish, and I would leave to go to this hotel, and it was like a 2-hour drive, so I'm already just delirious.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And one night, driving up through this area, this like 2-lane mountain kind of highway.
Were you by yourself, or were you with people?
I was with people in the car,
Okay.
but
Okay.
there was like some traffic. Everyone seemed to be going this one way up, us losers who got the wrong hotel weekend. But either way, coming against traffic was... Did you watch the television program Jackass on MTV by any chance?
I caught a few episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the guy Preston?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So imagine him 40 years older in that same scene where he's running around in his tighty-whitey underwear, but like for real and super scary. Because there's like no people, no establishments, nothing for miles. And that's what I see at 3 a.m.
Did anyone stop? I mean, not that you would, but he just passed you? Kept running?
Yeah, he's like running like with this intent. He looked like he was chasing someone, not being chased. He looked like the aggressor in whatever situation he was in.
Bro.
That's ghost stories.
That's a trip.
That's the kind of stuff I was hoping for in Bodie, but it's okay. It didn't happen that way. But what did happen is Huell had a good time. And let's start talking about that.
Okay.
So, first thing I noticed, or caught my ear in the clip, is that this was a town of 12,000 people at its like peak boom.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. Like, that's not a ton. It's not a
No, but
metropolis.
I was thinking about it, and for the conditions of the town, the geographic location of it, that sounds like a lot of people to me.
Yeah, because
You have some other towns, right?
Yeah. I decided to look up towns in California and their current populations in that range, that 12,000 range. So Marysville, we were there a couple weeks ago, where the S was a $sign.
Right.
That's one of them now, currently. In our county, McFarland, which is probably like the third or fourth biggest town in our county.
Yeah.
Malibu, which, those LA metropolis towns are a bit misleading with their populations.
Right.
But still, like if you were to just plop Malibu out and stick it in the mountains,
It's about how many
you got
people.
Bodie.
Yeah.
And then King City in Monterey County and Grover Beach in San Luis Obispo.
Okay. Grover Beach, good thrift stores.
Good thrift stores, says Jeremy. And me. I've been to a lot of them. They're good.
So you're telling me that Bodie isn't like Malibu, other than the population size during its peak?
I wouldn't say it's a 1-for-1, but it's like Malibu. I think I've driven through. I've never really stopped much in that part of
You're not
LA.
allowed to.
I'm not in the right tax bracket, but it seemed like equally as exciting of a place back in the day, with all the gunfights and saloons and lack of churches.
And lack of trees. We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, so who do we meet first?
Right off the bat, Arlene Reveal,
Which I've never heard the last name Reveal.
No, and it's quite a reveal when you see her.
She turns around. Yeah.
All right,
Let's
let's break it all down.
For me, the first thing that popped into my head is this lady is a no-nonsense kind of lady.
She doesn't suffer a fool, that's for sure.
No. 'Cause there's even an instance, which we can point out, where Huell tries to talk over her, and she railroads it.
Yeah.
She just hammers over Huell talking over her.
I was noticing that Huell wasn't doing much talking during his segments with her. It was a lot of because she's just slamming the narrative.
Yeah.
And she's got one of these voices that lends itself to these stories, which we'll get into the validity of some of them in a little bit, because they get a little wild. But okay, so Arlene, I'll tell you who she reminds me of, and this may sound mean, but I don't mean it that way. It's just an aesthetic observation.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Monsters, Inc.?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember the character Roz, the slug lady with the cat eye glasses?
Yeah.
Slight resemblance.
Just a slight.
Because she's got that hair bun.
It's the bun and the glasses.
Yeah,
It's the pointing glasses.
And the fact that she kind of like looks down her nose at people, her chin's pushing out. She doesn't have the personality of Roz from Monsters, Inc. at all. She seems like she doesn't mess around, but she's having fun. This is probably the highlight of her year right here.
Oh, for sure.
But yes, the tightest bun I've ever seen.
Ah, it has to give you a headache.
Because it's tight, but it's wide. I don't get what's going on with it. Too bad, like, Aaron and Kathleen aren't here to, like, discuss
you guys
the
are
bun
just
situation.
morons. Let me tell you about this. It's so easy.
We couldn't make a bun if our life depended on it.
All right,
But
so what else do you got?
she's got a mock turtleneck in red, a patterned vest type thing below it, and then a trench. Mm-hmm. A mauve-colored trench. And she is the coolest person, sans our German tourist we're going to get to in a little bit. But
she looks like she's carrying some sort of Bible there, some Bodie Bible.
she's always, yes, I was always looking at this bundle of stuff she's got with her at all times, and you spotted it. Like,
She's holding that tight.
Yeah, what is that book?
That is none other than Bodie,
Yeah.
1859 through 1900 by Frank Werditz.
Yeah. So, speaking of Bodie books, our local used bookstore, Bookhounds, stopped in there yesterday and found Bodie, The Golden Years by Judy Daniel. And
Did she give an old citation to
she did.
Nice.
The book that Arlene is holding is cited within the book I am holding.
So
a little scholarly
there you go, Frank.
connection.
Your work wasn't done in vain.
Exactly. But there's some juicy tidbits in this Bodie the Golden Years that I'll get to a little later. But let's talk about some of the things that Arlene says, because, like we said, she's spouting a lot of fact.
Yes. Like,
So
okay.
the first thing that they talk about is churches or lack thereof.
The dearth of churches.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of a running thing with these gold rush towns, these boom towns, because there's a lot of males going there. And let's face it, a town full of guys is probably not going to be a town full of pastors and...
Well, I don't know. I don't stereotype, but I...
It's a historical record.
No, I was going to say, because these people are actually more of risk takers. So would you...
Yeah.
You know, that subset
Yeah.
of a type of person that goes there for sure. Oh, for sure.
Plus, these boom towns, they're attractive. You got to think that these men have expendable incomes all of a sudden because they're by themselves. They have money for the first time outside of like having to give it to family because, let's face it, a lot of them left their families behind.
Right.
What else are they going to be spending this money on?
That's true. And
Maybe, maybe a good time, whatever that means to them.
And in some of these areas, because as you know, this is interest of mine, and whether you agree or disagree with this, the women that would go out there, they were such a small minority that they started their own sort of laundry businesses and things like that, and they did pretty well.
Yeah.
So
there are other types of businesses, but
yeah. But it's crazy. It's cool to see.
But the first church in Bodie came around 3 to 4 years after its founding, which isn't a long time, seeing as it was around for nearly 100 years. But still, like that's a while in the 1880s-ish for there to be no religious establishments. 'Cause
right.
That was a big thing. More so then than now, I would assume. But
yeah, I don't think there's any of either.
Yeah.
Present day Bodie?
Yeah, none. There's none churches.
Well, they have the same ratio, saloons to churches.
True. But then she talks about the town having burned down twice.
Yeah.
And the first was in the 1890s.
But we do get later from what was his name? It was the Ranger? When Walt Stone was talking about the first mill before it was rebuilt,
Yeah.
he mentions that there was a fire in 1899.
So
I'm going to guess maybe that's this.
that is probably that one.
Okay.
And then the second one.
Dude, this is...
Tell about it.
No, you tell it. It's
All
wild.
right. So Arlene spits this out real quick. And this seems like something that Huell should have like stopped her dead in her tracks. And I'm tempted to play the clip so you hear it, but she kind of sounds a little befuddled when she talks about it. So I'm just going to paraphrase. There was a young kid, and they flash a picture of a young child. They don't say if that's actually Bodie Bill or not, but it's just this little ragamuffin kid. And his mom, he became angry because his mom made him eat Jell-O for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So he burned the town down. Like,
the first thing is obviously a kid is so upset having to eat Jell-O.
yeah.
That's weird.
Grab the matches, burn the town down.
So the second thing that was weird about this story is, did he light 30 buildings on fire, or did he light a fire that burned 30 buildings?
It must have been the latter, because
Okay. Could you imagine?
you think after like 3, they'd stop this little toddler just lighting matches and throwing them. Jell-O, hate it. Plus, was Jell-O around in 1932?
Let's look it up.
This is amazing.
You learn something new every day.
Every single day.
It was invented 121 years ago, in 1897, in Leroy, New York.
Who'd have thought?
So it was around.
Well, obviously, that's enough time for a child to learn a distaste for a food. If it's been around for...
Maybe the mom, instead of it being a sweet Jell-O, maybe she made it with sardines or something. I don't know.
A savory Jell-O? I don't know.
Maybe.
But the next thing that Arlene talks about is the name of the town itself, or the spelling thereof. Because she says that the town was Bodey or Body.
Which I think it's just called Bodie.
Yeah, Bodie. I didn't even think of that. Oh, man. But then a sign painter who was painting a big sign on the side of a building to show incoming people that this was Bodie, spelled it Bodie. Now, this is a bit of a reminiscent sounding story to episode 2, Central Coast, the Motel Inn, where another sign painter changed the fate of history because he didn't know how to spell, or at least was lazy with his spelling.
Well, no, it was because they couldn't afford the materials for the sign.
According to that woman.
I know, but it's at the other...
Motel Inn, motor hotel. Too many letters. Just say motel.
Maybe you got it confused. I want you to put motor hotel in. It's like, what?
I heard motel. I don't know.
That's true. That was my first thought I had as well. So did you notice that when both Huell and Arlene are walking into the old house, how clearly she states the reasons for why the door is open? That door is open so we can walk through it. So I can show you the house.
Thanks, Arlene. Riveting interview.
But we do get something in the old house. So Huell, when we were looking at we were at Carrizo Plain.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the Indian...
Oh, the Painted Rock.
The Painted Rock, yeah.
Just last week.
He gives just a... That's amazing. He does it again.
I missed it. But I was watching at work. Sorry, I wasn't working. Well, I'll consider it a lunch break. I was watching this
working
at work
lunch.
early. There you go. So I got to listen to this again. Here, let's play the clip and listen to it.
Now, most of the houses are locked, but this one is open so that we can walk into it and see how it was when people actually lived here.
Oh, wow, look.
And all the old furniture, the old beds, the double bed in the back room
look at
is
this.
there.
There's got a bed in there.
Absolutely.
Can you see the bed? There we go. Look at that.
Isn't that wonderful? Even pictures on the wall are still there.
Amazing.
It's very subtle. I mean...
I probably heard it because I had my headphones
Okay, yeah.
in today. And I was doing this thing where I was watching it. Well, obviously listening to it and watching it.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But I was also reading the subtitles.
Oh, so yeah, the double doozer.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the subtitle. I don't know why that helps me.
Oh.
But I still heard it very, very clearly. But yeah, anyway.
Well, he also kind of muttered a little thing, now that we listened to it again, that he said last week at Painted Rock, which is, look at that. And that becomes one of his kind of catchphrases over the years, too, as I've been, like, going through all these different episodes. When he sees something that's really gives him, like, it takes him aback. Look at that. Real soft and breathy.
You know, we have these origin stories. I'm going to try to just pay closer attention as we're going through it as well.
Yeah. So the reason that they're in this house, beyond just the pictures on the wall, is that it's amazing to Arlene and Huell, and us too, that these families, assumedly, just abandoned everything in the house but their personal belongings, according to Arlene.
Which apparently it's not.
Apparently it's nothing but clothes, maybe? a ring or two.
Like a toothbrush?
Yeah, because there's like...
No? I was thinking maybe in the third, maybe later,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Every stick of furniture is there. Dishes on the table. The bedpan in the baby's bedroom. There's everything. And then Huell's kind of flabbergasted by this, and Arlene kind of tries to simmer him down and says, like, how are they going to pack him up out of there? And Huell's just not buying it still. And then she says, well, they just move on to the next mining town where someone else left all their stuff. Okay, if you say so. I mean, it makes logical sense, but...
Was that like a norm back then? We'll leave this for the next...
I want to get some research into that.
It's like a zip car?
Yeah.
Just leave it?
Are those the scooters in San Francisco that are causing all that ruckus? But it's a whole house.
It's like a
of
lime
furniture.
bike. It's a lime house.
There you go. So, Huell, Arlene leave the house. We're on to, what, the blacksmith shop?
Yeah, there isn't too much.
Besides, it's the fact that it's like half fallen down.
Right.
And then we're on to that one brick building, right?
The only one.
Yeah. And they show those cool pictures where the snow went up to the second floor. And Arlene was loving telling about how they didn't bother them. They just walked out the window. The second floor window. All righty.
And Huell responds with what? Another quiet. That's amazing. He's full of them.
Yeah. He's like keeping it maybe he's not wanting to wake the ghosts or something.
Oh, true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. But
this is also when Arlene tells us about just shortly after the brick building that there are no trees because of the cold and because it's above the tree line.
Yeah, in elevation there.
Which we learn later is 8,400 feet.
Yeah, that's up there. And Huell didn't seem to notice this before, which you'd think he would notice driving in. Maybe he's just, playing along with Arlene's storytelling and everything, but he did a good job. I believed him when he acted surprised.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Arlene's story was really interesting, too. That the townspeople would import trees, like aspen trees, to celebrate 4th of July.
Which I don't know. I don't remember that tradition. That tradition obviously hasn't lived on.
Yeah.
The trees. I don't know if they were like on the street or in people's houses. Who knows? But either way, it's time to switch gears a little bit because.
Well, before we do that,
what do you got?
We have to talk about Arlene. Arlene left us.
Yeah.
In 2005.
Oh.
No. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
She
I didn't
left
even
us on
think
the show too. So she left the earth. 2005, at 88 years old, she passed away in Riverside, Utah. She had a home there. But the Bridgeport Library, which I was looking this up, it's in Bridgeport, California. They actually, in 2005, renamed the library to the Arlene Reveal Library.
No way. That's cool. Well, she was the county librarian there. So
27 years.
As the county librarian? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that we got this little tidbit of her here because these are the kind of, like, a person like that during that time period probably wasn't on film a lot. Mm-hmm. You got to imagine.
Yeah.
Same thing a couple weeks ago when we were in Kernville. There doesn't seem to be much video footage of Bob Powers, the cowboy historian of the Kern River Valley. And when we were talking to the museum guys, one of them seemed pretty surprised that there was video of him.
Yeah.
Which maybe there's like home videos that they're like hoarding and we don't get to see. But as far as publicly out there stuff, Arlene, Bob, Huell did us a service.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good thing that happened. But now we need to move on to some interviews of fellow ghost town lovers.
Right. And we have the first ones. Well, Huell just bombards them.
Yeah.
Which I love it.
It's just I called them the blue family because all of them are just wearing blue.
The blue and green family.
Yeah, it's weird because like both of them have this teal collar popping, the father-mother duo, but that's Huell's whole jacket is that same teal color. The daughter didn't get the memo. And she has red shorts. She screwed it all up. But it's okay. But the mom was saying that she was looking for the trash compactor in the house.
Yeah. Well, they were there because I didn't understand it completely. I should listen to it again. But they were trying to go hiking?
Yeah, they were going to go on a hike, but it was supposed to rain, and they didn't want to be in the rain. So they still just go outside and hike around. Anyway.
But it takes a while to... Okay. Well, anyway.
Either way.
Yeah. They're doing it.
They're out of here. Now we got these German dudes. These guys. These are my favorite.
They're the best on the episode.
So, first guy. What do you think of him?
Writer. Well, who's your first guy? Just whoever I pick?
The first guy who talks here.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm going to guess that the bottom half is the other half of the Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah. All denim everywhere. Yeah.
These bandanas around the neck.
It's weird. And it looks... Because the second guy has a better one, as far as my opinion. But the first guy... Are those little Harley Davidson logos?
Oh, that's a good question.
They kind of look like upside-down Harley logos. It could also be a heart.
They're that or...
With a dagger through it, like
yeah.
Shawn Michaels' tattoo. But either way...
That's got he has a Breakfast Club vibe to me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I feel it. I feel it.
Okay.
But it's funny because the guy next to him, like, okay, so you're saying that first guy, 80s stylings.
Oh, for sure.
The next guy on the right, pure 90s. To me, he's got the sunglass strap.
The chums.
That's what they are. Yes, that's what it is. Down over, they're like draping over his red shirt that just says America in like Coca-Cola lettering or something. But his bandana is Old Glory.
It is. It is.
He came to America because he's a German tourist, like we said. I must have all America. And then, do you remember? He's only got one line. This guy, Huell says, "What are you guys here to see? What are you doing? Find some gold, yeah." It's perfect. Oh man.
Old Breakfast Club guy over here. When he'll ask him the same question.
Yeah.
And he says, Western men, gunmen shooting around the streets. Some saloon fights.
They're great one.
Oh, they're awesome. They're the best on the show.
Oh, but then we move on to a Scottish family.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, as far as like accents go, most of them are pretty, like, this is kind of a Australian versus New Zealand accent situation. Mm-hmm. Scottish accents can be mistaken for British accents sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think there's one word that they say that gives it away.
What is it?
Stone. Because they say our buildings aren't made of wood. Everything's made to last, made of stone. And I just like totally, that is Scotland to me.
Oh. Yeah, she's pretty disappointed or just baffled.
Like, how could you let this happen?
Why would you build this out of wood?
Oh. It's okay.
Oh, that's so funny.
Well, speaking of stone...
Old Walt Stone?
Old Walt Stone. We're changing gears again, and we're with Walt Stone of Bodie State Historic Park. And again, he is the epitome of a forest ranger kind of a look to me.
Oh, yeah. He also has this nonchalant knowledge. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I would describe him. He's like, yeah, Arrested Decay.
It's his philosophy. It's their... Okay, that sounds to me like y'all don't got enough money to fix these
Sounds
buildings.
like a policy. Yeah, not so much philosophy.
So you came up with this idea like, oh, well, let's just pick up the trash, and if they fall down, oh, well. Well, is Arrested Decay something that happens in other places?
It's fairly rare. I think it really only happens when there's a historic park, wherever it is.
Uh-huh.
Ours is in, we have Bodie, and then Pennsylvania has something like this they call preserved ruin. But basically, you don't have enough money to preserve it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is kind of what you call it. You're allowed to. So the structures, according to this source here, the structures can be maintained, but only to the extent that they will not be allowed to fall over or otherwise deteriorate in any major way. And old Walt Stone lets us know that the best way to do this is to give it a nice roof.
Yeah. He also said that if things do fall down, so be it. We're not rebuilding. So they're not even holding true to the definition of the arrested decay philosophy.
That's true. I mean,
you don't let it fall down.
Do you think instead of going cow tipping, the kids in the area go
building tipping? You need a lot more friends. Cow tipping is a Bakersfield or like Kern County thing, right?
I think it's on Tommy Boy.
Is it?
Yeah,
it is, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
his new brother / stepdad at the same time. Oh, I didn't. Is that a spoiler?
I don't think you can spoil a 25-year-old movie. So Walt kind of brings us over to the main event building, I'd call it.
It's the Big Mama right here.
Big Mama Standard Mill.
Old Stamper.
Yep. And this big building, according to Walt, had two kind of iterations. There was the electrical powered mill in like the 30s era, but prior to that, in the 1880s, it was all steam powered.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that it ran 24/6. 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. So I'm guessing Sunday they took a breather.
You never know. Could have been the Sabbath.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it had something to do with that.
Saturday.
There were churches by then.
True.
Either way, Huell asks a kind of an interesting question, and Walt has an interesting answer about how much gold was pulled out of there, which, to me, when I heard it, I just took that as good answer, which was that they took out $32 million worth of gold in 1880s dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, okay, my brain moved on. Yours did not. No. He did throw out that in today's dollars, that would be $750 million.
Which $750 million.
Yeah.
$750 million? But he gives us the nominal value, not the total stock of, gold, the total output of the mines.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need really to tell the modern day value.
Yeah.
So, but
plus, he didn't even give really like a date range as to what that was. That 1 year? Was that 30 years?
Right.
But I get it. It's a little frustrating when you get like enough info to get your appetite jumping, and then you can't do much with it.
I'm sure there's a roundabout way to get it, but like you said, if you just know the total amount, it'd be way easier.
If you can't do it, no one can.
Come on.
So during the first iteration, that steam-powered iteration, did you notice that Walt gave a little stat about the horsepower?
I did.
How many? The fact that a mill, a giant factory of sorts, could have a...
Dude, 125 horsepower.
What's that? Like a...
That's our Honda Fits.
Is that what...
No, or a little less than that. Close.
So we could be churning gold out if we just repurpose these engines.
It's true. I always thought that, I think it's torque. That'd be the real number.
Oh, okay.
That's what gets it going.
Yeah.
That's what gets that
the
mill moving.
Sure. Okay.
There is one last still before we leave the mill, and that's when Huell was asking Walt about the noise.
Oh,
so,
I forgot about that.
This must be super noisy.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but, everyone kind of got used to it. And really, they were weirded out. I'm just going to use that phrase.
Sure.
They were weirded out when it stopped. And Huell made it. I like the reference he made. He said, "Oh, it's almost like the cash register."
Yeah,
like you said, basically, it must sound like a cash register opening and closing.
Yeah, because that's the money mill up there.
That's true. But I was thinking about the Reedley alarm.
Yeah,
and
I was too.
At that town, it's just a normal thing. And that's not making any money.
No. In fact, when we heard that, Monica, that was her name, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She just kind of like stood and waited, and then went on with their business while we're just, what is happening? But
could you imagine the day it closed, the mill? It just shuts off for the last time.
Jing, jing, jing.
Do you think it was that ringing you get in your ears when you leave the city?
Must be. They probably heard it for years.
It's just a sad day.
Yeah.
Oh, our town's dead. Like the heartbeat of the city.
Physically
town.
hear the death of a town.
Well,
So, changing gears again, heading
on
up to the
a
hill.
happier front, we're going.
Going to the cemetery. And there's like some interesting little tidbits of info that, because now we got Walt and Arlene together.
Oh, dynamic duo here.
How are they not married? That's all I got to know.
I don't. Maybe they are.
I guess. But basically, we just get a little info about some of the graves, and they're also part of this arrested decay philosophy. We had old Warren Lucy up on the hill because he was kind of like the town leader, and he wanted to continue looking down on the town.
Mm-hmm.
Good story, Arlene.
Well, because they were talking about the people who were killed, the gunfighters.
Yeah.
Is that what they refer to them as? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, gunfighters. They're buried on the north end of the cemetery, outside of the grounds. What I thought was interesting is Arlene, her pen is of the bad men.
Yeah.
Remember that?
She's a Slytherin?
She might be.
But do you remember what Huell referenced these guys by? Like how he asked about them?
I don't remember, no.
He said, "What about the guy, the bad guys with the guns? Those scoundrels?
Oh, yeah.
and scallywags.
Scallywags?
They knew exactly what he meant when he used those terms. But
Yeah. This is something else Huell does. When he walks, so he's going by these, headstones or whatever. And a lot of them are kids, and they talk about that. It was pneumonia, went through. A lot of people died from it. Mm-hmm. Especially the most vulnerable, which were the kids. I'm guessing people never made it to old age, so they wouldn't be vulnerable.
I guess.
I don't know. But he goes into that sort of... To me, it looks like it's... I can't even say it. To fence someone out, but you knew what it was.
Yeah, as far as I know, according to, I think my grandpa told me, because I saw one of these in the old Kernville cemetery. And for these kids' graves, they seem to have made these kind of pseudo cribs or bassinet kind of enclosures around the grave site itself, like the single grave site. Because I remember seeing those and they stuck out because it's like the stone and then that enclosure. So that's what I'm going with.
Okay. But when Huell, it catches his eye.
Yeah.
Immediately. He turns, he directs the whole conversation towards this. Never says what it is.
No.
But he says, this thing, it's arrested whatever decay.
Poor Walt.
That was my favorite.
It's his whole philosophy.
I know that Walt has to go, this is more of like decay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But after that, we're kind of out of here.
Yeah, so we learned towards the end that this is not a good place to live.
No.
And better to reminisce.
Yeah. What a way to sell it. But I guess as a ghost town, no one needs to be moving there.
But Huell does say that at the end, though. That he's not in the habit of recommending places to visit.
Yeah, but what about that Kern River Valley commercial he did?
Right?
2 weeks ago?
Exactly.
I don't think he actively says everyone should come here. But that's kind of the basis of his whole show.
Or when he's at an Allensworth,
Yeah.
looking in the house, and he does the old...
That's right. Same episode.
I guess you're going to have to see it for yourself, see what's inside.
I think he was starting to feel his celebrity pull at this point. Like he can influence travel.
Right.
And, he wasn't wrong because a lot of people, us included, have traveled to places because of his shows. Mm-hmm. And will continue to.
That's true.
But during the outro, Huell does his kind of patented start far away and walk towards the camera for no reason, walk and talks.
But there's something peculiar about this, right?
He gets a little bit into it, and he says, you want to just, let's hear him say it, because it's a little tidbit of real life Huell. Let's hear it.
Well, the latest little rain shower we had here has just about cleared out the main street of Bodie. So I better hurry up and finish this program before it starts to rain again, because you never know what's going to happen up here in the Sierra. Something else funny has happened. This is about the 5th time I've tried to close this program. This is the 5th take. The reason we've had to do so many takes is that I get out of breath by the time I get up here, and I just found out, they were just telling me, the reason I'm out of breath after doing all this walking is that we are at 8,400 feet. The air up here is very thin.
So that's the real Huell to me.
Yeah.
Because you kind of hear it in his voice. He's just like, I really don't want to be doing this right now. I want to go home.
You can hear it all the way through, even when he's done talking. Just
so that's it. End of show. But there's another little cameo,
little treat,
treat
from the. I guess it's not restricted to the 90s, but maybe 80s, 90s T-shirt this kid's wearing.
Yep.
This kid is running, having a good time.
Yeah,
and he's sporting a Mickey Mouse T-shirt.
Yeah, and I can't tell exactly what's going on with it because there's something else with the graphic, but it's so 90s era touristy shirt.
Yeah.
I love it.
Maybe he's one of the little brothers for the German boys.
You think that's Euro Disney?
That might be the Eiffel Tower. Look.
Oh man. Was Euro Disney around then?
I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
We're not even going to check this.
No. Just going to assume facts at this point. But either way, did you notice that the last shot during this credit scene with this, during this little harmonica outro song, that the very last shot is a couple, like an elderly couple sitting on a bench, and the guy has on the California's Gold uniform.
Yeah.
He couldn't find one to interview, but he got that little tidbit at the end.
It's a nice cherry on top.
And he's got the grandpa style hat wearing. Mm-hmm. Classic.
And that may be a Euro Disney T-shirt. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but look it up.
I know.
It opened in April 12th, 1992.
And
or
since
on April 12th,
this is the latter end of the 92 season of California's Gold.
That might have been a fresh Euro Disney tee.
It looked clean, too, because it's a white T-shirt, and it looked crisp.
Mm-hmm.
So, there it is.
I'm going to go with it.
It's done.
I just want to believe,
okay.
So we'll go with that.
But either way, that's going to about wrap it up for Huell and us. And Bodie really has piqued my interest.
Yes.
So much so that I'm going to go there.
Are you going to start spelling it with a Y? Let's just go with you. Let's talk about you go in there.
I should just start a campaign. I'll go up there like, this is Bodie, B-O-D-Y. The sign maker screwed it up.
Or just spray paint it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. But yeah, the big California road trip I'm going to do next month, Bodie is on the list.
Nice.
I'll do a little update about everything, see what bits of Arrested Decay have fully decayed.
I'm curious to see how many.
I'll see if I can find Walt. I'll bet he's still there.
Yeah, why not?
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Either way, next week, we're staying in Mono County again. Huell obviously drove a long way and wanted to stay
He wants
up
some
there.
material out of this.
So we're going to Mono Lake next episode, and this one's a doozy. I really like this one.
I'm excited.
Well, that's about a wrap on that one.
That's it.
That's it. But we hope that you come and hear about Mono Lake next week as we continue our search together for Huell's Gold.